Just to show you graphically, pitches clocked at 95 plus in the first inning. Clemens airing it out 11 times, and Gooden a total of 8. And when you talk about airing it out, there's no better place to do it than in an all-star game where you know you can't be on the mound for more than 3 innings.
I think the big tendency, Al, and I started 4 and pitched in 5, is that you have a tendency to overthrow. And it seems like Gooden, he threw a little bit harder when he got a runner in scoring position. Turned it up.
He faces Wally Joyner here. Wally Joyner, the first rookie to ever be elected a starter in the All-Star game by the fans. And of course, it's the first time that rookies have been included on the ballot, so that obviously helped. But he got off to a sensational start, and he's the man who took Rod Carew's spot at first base for California and has become an instant sensation.
Second in home runs with 20, second in RBIs behind Canseco in both departments. He has 72 RBIs. What a nice stroke he has.
There is the man who figures to be in next for the National League, Fernando Valenzuela, starting to get loose with Gooden on the mound in the second inning.
I look at Wally Joyner and I think of Freddie Lynn back in 1975. Nice, sweet stroke. Of course, Wally, they pitched him a little differently. He went down and hitting well over 300 to 313, went down to 277, has only hit 1 home run in the last 25 games, so had 19 almost a month ago.
Popped up, then Ozzie Smith goes out with Gwynn coming in, and it's the Wizard making the catch. So Joyner is gone. 1 away, and Cal Ripken comes up.
Gives you an idea of Gooden's high fastballs. The last 3 batters for the American League have been retired on fly balls, all high fastballs.
For the All-Star game, as you see, the DH rule not in use. All starters except pitchers must play 3 innings unless you're injured. And if the last catcher becomes injured, the removed catcher may re-enter as Ripken takes low for a ball, 1-0. A model of consistency. Cal Ripken hitting 297. Consecutive game streak still alive. 690. Consecutive inning streak still alive. In there in the count, 1-1. As you look around the Astrodome, ironic in this game, you've got Dale Murphy in center for the National League, who came out of the lineup so they would take some of the pressure of that consecutive game streak off. He missed a game last week in Philadelphia, but Ripken keeps on rolling. Chopper in the count, 1-2. You talked to Cal about the streak, Jim. Is it a big thing with him? Does he want to continue?
Well, he just doesn't feel that. A lot of people feel that that playing every inning of every ball game is counterproductive. You get tired. He said, "What's an inning off here and there? I would just rather play every inning," and I don't really think it's hurt him. A lot of times you think you was a little bit tired this year, early in the year. I think a lot of people felt he played too many innings. In July, he's been up 47 times with 20 hits. So at a time when you think you need a rest, he's playing as well as you can play.
Curled foul. He sort of downplays it when he's interviewed about it, but I guess the longer it goes, the prouder you have to become.
Well, he's quite an athlete. He was an all-state soccer player. He's the type of basketball player that can two-hand jams over his head. I think most people look at him. And you take a look, he's almost 6'5", or maybe a little bit bigger than that, weighs about 225 pounds, and they said a guy that's that big and plays shortstop, a position you have to be very mobile at, he's got to get tired. Yeah, certainly you can't tell from his performance that he's tired.
Ozzie Smith's been a busy man, and Ozzie now has 3 putouts and 1 assist. Two down, bases empty, and now Dave Winfield down at 232. That's the lowest average amongst any of the starters. 13 homers and 56 runs batted in. And for Winfield, this is All-Star game number 10. 6 times in the American and 4 in the National, while with San Diego. 1-0.
I think it was very interesting what he said about it's all political. Very proud man. Going back to 1984, they said he couldn't hit for an average. All he did was hit 340. That was after a year where he hit about 35 home runs in one of the toughest right-handed hitters park in baseball.
Of course, he was edged out on the last day of the season by Don Mattingly 2 years ago. Hey, they talk about the recession here in Houston, the oil and gas recession. Maybe Clemens and Gooden are the answers to that recession. They have put some gas on in there tonight, I'll tell you.
Well, we were up in Boston a week ago and standing around in the lobby of the hotel, and the man said, I have 6 tickets, I need another 6. All I had to do is pay an extra $200 a ticket to see Clemens pitch. So obviously there's not a recession in Boston, at least not for this fellow.
No recession in the standings there either. No recession in the standings here, as the Astros have surprised everyone by staying in the race. For the most part, they've been in first place for the first half of the season, though at the All-Star break they trailed the Giants by 1. 1-2 to Winfield. Is hit into the right field corner, and it's a fair ball, and Strawberry gets it back in as Winfield pulls in at second with a double. Hit number 2 for the American League.
One of the reasons that Dave Winfield can hit for a high average at Yankee Stadium is he does use the right side of the field. One of those guys that Kurt Flood used to talk about, spray hitter with power. He is that.
Sprays them over the fence.
That's right.
Well, you talked about the high fastball that's Gooden been throwing, and there is really not too many better high fastball hitters than Dave Winfield, especially fastball. Just throw it up there straight, and he's going to have a home run swing, and that was one of them.
If ever there's a chance to pitch around somebody, this is it. All-Star game, number 8 hitter at first base open, chopper foul, and the count 0-1.
That's an intelligent move right there by Lou Whitaker. He knows, with Roger Clemens on deck, that he might see a breaking ball, no doubt, and you saw an excellent curveball from Gooden. He's looking for that pitch. Now, the problem is that Gooden's curveball is as good as his fastball.
Whitfield at second with 2 down, and the 0-1 to Whitaker is a fastball foul back. 0-2 on the Tigers' second baseman, who's making his 3rd All-Star start in a row. Hit 21 homers last year, and you might recall in Minnesota last year, he forgot to bring his uniform, left it in the trunk of his car. They had to buy one at a souvenir stand, and with a marking pencil, mark in his number, number 1. As Whitaker hits it high in the air to deep right field, and Strawberry looks up. This one is gone. Lou Whitaker being serenaded with a chorus of Lou's, as is the case in Detroit, who has hit 3 home runs in his last 5 regular season games, makes it 2-0.
Gooden gets a curveball up in the strike zone. 0-2, you want to get it down. Felled high. Second time he's seen that pitch, and he gets all of it. And you have to do that here in the Astrodome. No cheapies, as we talked about earlier.
So a 2 out, a double by Winfield, a homer by Whitaker, and now Clemens chops it foul. And so much for pitching around Lou Whitaker as you look at his wife and kids.
His daughter said, "I'm glad." I guess so.
Yeah.
So is Dick Hauser and the whole American League bench.
All right.
Receptive young daughter.
And you might think about why he didn't pitch around Lou Whitaker, but one of the reasons is he got a quick strike on him, and then you kind of can that theory about pitching around the guy. Once you get that quick strike on him, and then he fouls the other one back, he's 0-2 in the hole. So you say, I'm going right after him. Curveball up just a little, and was an all-star.
He gets Clemens, but a little late. After the homer by Whitaker, the American League leads 2-0.
It's hard to get it away. Yeah. It's different working with 3 guys again, you know? It's like another pace.
It is.
This is sliding down.
Yeah.
A reminder, Monday Night Baseball resuming this coming Monday. 2 games for you, so check your local listings. The Mets go to Cincinnati to take on the resurging Reds, and the Giants, maybe the biggest surprise of all this year, against the Cardinals in St. Louis at 8 Eastern time next Monday. Lou Whitaker's home run has made it 2-0 American League as we go to the bottom of the 2nd inning in the 57th All-Star game, and Gary Carter, Darryl Strawberry, and Mike Schmidt to face Roger Clemens. Carter fouling it away. You've noticed that the National League has Hernandez, Carter, and Strawberry batting 3, 4, 5. It's the first time any All-Star team has had 3 men from the same team hit in those slots since 1960. As you can see it right there, Maris, Mantle, and Skowron of the Yankees. As Carter hits a fly ball to center field, and Kirby Puckett comes in to make the play. And then for emphasis back in 1960, Yogi Berra hit 6th.
Well, you saw Kirby Puckett right there. One of the most difficult things in the Astrodome is to sometimes follow a fly ball. Go back the first time they ever played here in 1965. We played the first day game. The Orioles came down here along the Yankees, and we won 12-9. Boo Powell played left field. We won the game because we hit more fly balls.
Mickey Mantle hit the first home run that day, right?
Well, the night before on Friday night, line drive into the center field seats or up the chute.
On the subject of home runs, Strawberry hit a shot yesterday that had to be seen to be believed in the home run hitting contest as part of the pre-All-Star workout. He fouls it away. He hit a speaker in deepest, darkest right center field. And if he does that during the game, it's in play. There it is. And as we pull back, that's how far that ball traveled. A monstrous shot. And he's only the second man to have done it in the Astrodome. The other was Mike Schmidt back in '74 in a game, and it wound up as a single. Good fastball. Clemens has retired the 5 men he's faced. That's his 2nd strikeout. And speaking of Schmidt, he comes up next.
Well, Clemens doesn't throw very many bad fastballs. You look where Lance Parrish is sitting, look where the ball ends up. And that's one of the reasons for his success. 97 miles per hour, and more times than not, he hits the glove.
And again, it was a fastball that was up in the strike zone. Both of these fine young pitchers, high ball pitchers. Unless, of course, they throw the breaking ball. That high gas, it's tough to catch up with it. And as we said, one of the reasons that Gooden has not been as successful this year, he's been getting the ball down.
Clemens throwing it by Schmidt in the count 0-1. Schmidt hit 2 home runs in this park Sunday to lead the Phillies to a win over the Astros. and then took the day off from the workout yesterday and played golf. Fly ball to center field, deep, but there's a lot of room here, and that's Kirby Puckett making the catch. So 6 up and 6 down for Clemens. Still 2-0 American League, end of 2.
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. I'm sorry? He might be. They'll clear things out when he gets coming, I'll tell you that.
How long is the next break, Chuck? Plus the thing? When's the next 2 minutes? Oh, all right.
He might not need an IFB.
Tommy, I'll sit in for 2 shot, okay?
All right, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'll be back.
Third inning, Kirby Puckett leads things off for the American League. Then Ricky Henderson and Wade Boggs. The Americans on top 2-0 as Puckett fouls it back. And the count on Kirby is 0-2. Puckett, in his first 2 big league seasons, hit a total of 4 homers. None his first year, 4 his second, and already 16 midway this year.
Well, they made a change, moved him up on the plate. You can see him on top of the plate. And I think the pitchers have adjusted now, because early in the year he was, as we look at 2 old-timers, Vice President George Bush on your right and Rusty Staub.
Staub is the honorary captain and one of the original Houston Colt 45 as he dons the replica of a uniform. And Don Drysdale is with us tonight. He'll be talking with the Vice President in the next half inning. Puckett fouling it away, 1-2, with Henderson waiting on deck. And then Boggs to follow. And Fernando Valenzuela, who will follow Gooden, loosens up in the bullpen. Puckett with a shot at a batting title this year. Boggs leads the league in hitting. Mattingly is second. And then Kirby third at 338.
Well, he came up as basically a contact hitter, just tried to hit it down on the turf in Minnesota. This year, Oliva did change him. And if you look at his build, you can see that he can hit the ball a long way.
3-2 the count.
The thing about this all-star team, or this all-star game, it has a lot of players that are so well-rounded, good defensively, good offensively. Kirby Puckett, for instance. Take a look at Gooden. Kirby Puckett led the American League in assists 2 years ago, second last year.
To shallow right field, and it's Strawberry putting it away.
So well-rounded on both ends. A lot of gold gloves, a lot of consecutive games played as far as Ripken is concerned. A lot of strikeouts with that man right there.
Update on the speed comparison. Gooden has now thrown 27 at 95 plus. He's also thrown a lot more pitches than Clemens, who's retired the 6th man he has faced. Henderson, who bounced into a force. Good curve for a strike. And if you're not used to seeing Gooden, I guess that's easy to do. You bend back, and the pitch breaks over. I guess it's easy to do if you've seen him 100 times.
Well, again, I think from all the media, the big question, what's the difference between Dwight Gooden and Roger Clemens? And we've seen tonight they both throw with the same velocity, just right around 96, 97 miles per hour. I think over a course of a season, at least looking at Dwight Gooden last year and the year before, has the better of the curveballs. Tonight, you couldn't tell a difference. Both of them, with the exception of the hanging curveball to Whitaker, both of them had an excellent curveball. Clemens, of course, has a slider and a changeup, even though Dwight throws a changeup. He's in a situation, again, what you said, expectations. If he throws a changeup and gets hurt with it, people are saying he's not using his best pitch.
Can't swing, and Henderson commits himself. And that's that for Rickey.
Here's the fastball tight to Henderson. And after 2 curveballs, that fastball looks like it was thrown about 200 miles an hour. That's why you get a check swing in that situation.
2 down, and Wade Boggs, who flied to left to deep left in the first inning. Justice is served in a way, and there is Tom Lasorda, the manager of the Dodgers and one of Whitey Herzog's coaches, looking on from the National League dugout. George Brett was voted the starter at third, and Brett, after a very slow start, has really picked it up, but George has a bad shoulder, so he can't play tonight. And Boggs, having a great season, rightfully gets a spot in the lineup and is inserted into the 3-hole.
Another example of one of those players that was somewhat one-dimensional when he came up. He's learned how to run, moved up by running on his toes, become a much better defensive third baseman. Will eventually hit more home runs.
A look at George Brett in uniform, though unable to play tonight.
Strained rotator cuff.
Boggs toward the middle. Sandberg knocks it down, recovers, throws, but doesn't get him. So Boggs gets aboard. Sandberg making a nice play to get there, but unable to hold on, and Boggs is safe with 2 down, and Parrish coming up.
What an infielder tries to do when he backhands the ball, whenever he has to go to his right, tries to catch the ball in the webbing, and that ball hit the heel of the glove of Sandberg. He actually went too far, and that's why the ball just popped out and no chance to get Boggs.
And they've given him an error. Pretty tough call.
Undoubtedly, the scorer never played on AstroTurf. The ball, a lot of people say the ball picks up speed. I don't think it picks up speed. That's probably physically impossible. But what it doesn't do is slow down. A lot of times that second hop is just as fast as the first hop. There, the first hop is get a lot of overspin on it.
Parrish hits a fly ball to Murphy, and that's that. So Sandberg's error means nothing, and at the end of 2.5, the American League 2, the National League, nothing.
Yes, sir. 1, 2, 3. Okay, they're gonna have one mic. They're gonna come right out to me. Where's the camera? Right there.
Yeah, Yeah, in the 4th inning, yeah.
About 1 second, Don. Stand by.
From the captain of the Yale baseball team in 1948 to the Vice President of the United States, George Bush. And Mr. Vice President, first of all, an honor to have you with us, and I know that this is extra special to you being down here in Texas for the All-Star Game.
Well, it's a great treat, and I've only got one real blessing, and that is that I never had to go up against Drysdale.
Mr. Vice President, when we talked about your baseball career before going on the air, a special thing happened to you by the Bambino, Babe Ruth.
Well, Babe came up to Yale University in 1948, brought his papers. He was dying of cancer, and of course he was the key figure in baseball, and I'll never forget it. It's just as alive an experience as it was yesterday, and it made a great impact standing there, shaking his hand, and just the memories flooded back, and I've thought about it a lot. What a great ball player, and what a symbol he was for the whole country.
Well, and you too, Mr. Vice President. Thank you so much for being with us.
Just delighted to be here, Don.
Let's go right up to the booth and Al Michaels.
All right, thank you, Don, as Dale Murphy starts things off for the National League in the bottom of the third. 2-0, the Americans on top as Murphy hits it to the hole, backhanded by Ripken. Plants, throws, and gets him. Cal Ripken. Well, you know about his bat, but for those of you who don't watch him play a lot, even though it's a disputed call at first, take a look at his arm.
Well, we talked earlier about his mobility. You get a chance to see it here. Playing up the middle makes this play a little more difficult. Now you get to see the arm. As good as anybody's in baseball when he needs it. And he needs it right here. Joyner with the tag.
Clemens has now set down the 70 space, and Ozzie Smith of the Cardinals takes high, ball one.
Going back to what we talked about earlier, Al, they talked about Cal Ripken, and they said, you know, how can you play shortstop when you're that big? You can't have good range. We saw the arm right there. He said, if you know how to play the hitters, you can be a good shortstop.
Whitaker throws Smith out, and Clemens is now one batter away from 3 perfect innings, and Kevin Bass of the Houston Astros comes up to bat for good.
Kevin Bass is having. Last year, 16 home runs, 13 already. Made himself into a much better left-handed hitter.
He's a man who in spring training really didn't know exactly where he fit into the lineup. In a way, some regarded him as the 4th outfielder. Instead, he winds up as the 4th Astro on the All-Star team and goes after the first pitch and hits it down to Whitaker, and Roger Clemens in his hometown pitches 3 perfect innings. And at the end of 3, it's the American League 2 and the National League nothing.
You must have heard about his control.
Can you hear me now? All right, because they're closing me between... Huh? Do I need to be, or can we put it on pre-fade? All right. When's the next 2 minutes? That's real important. Ah! 3. We'll do the next half inning. Well, here comes Fernando Valenzuela of the Los Angeles Dodgers, 11-6, a 301 earned run average. So Fernando on a pace to win 20 or close to that figure in what's been a real rough year for the Dodgers, especially injury-wise. Meanwhile, 3 perfect innings. Jim Bunning, our colleague Don Drysdale, Spahn, and Bunning again, then Denny McLean. Steve Stone did it in 1980, and Roger Clemens joins that select list tonight. 9 up, 9 down, and hats off to you, Roger, with a 2-0 lead. Don Mattingly, meanwhile, comes up to pinch hit here in the 4th inning. He'll bat for Wally Joyner and then stay in the game. Joyner came up once and popped out in the 2nd. So last year's American League MVP facing Valenzuela and taking a strike. Ripken due up next, and then Winfield. And what you'll see from here on out, not only pitching changes, but a lot of other position changes in pinch hitters.
And there's a great story about Don Mattingly, who's not using his bat. He is using the bat of Mike Fischlin, the utility infielder for the New York Yankees. Mike asked him, he said, I'll probably never get to an all-star game, but will you at least use my bat? So he's using Fischlin's bat.
Probably. Teddy Higuera. Right, I guess there is. Teddy Higuera, sorry, Mike, in the American League bullpen as Mattingly fouls it away. But Fischlin's got a good enough sense of humor to understand, I would think.
It's going to take a tremendous rash of injuries.
Right.
I tell you, what a front runner, though. He couldn't have picked a better guy to let him use his bat.
He's already won a batting championship. He's already won an MVP award.
341 this year, as you see him fish out to a blown away changeup. Excuse me, screwball.
And that's a posture that many have taken against Fernando Valenzuela.
Well, he's got so many pitches. You see the screwball right here. He's got a fastball he can spot. See Mattingly out on his front foot. Something that's not easy to do if you're a pitcher. Try to induce him to take that bat a swing. We said he's hitting 341, can hit with power. 2 years ago, over 140 RBIs. Quite a hitter, and made him look bad.
Fastball to Ripken, taken for a strike. Fernando, 6 years in the big leagues and 6 times on the All-Star team.
And never won 20 games, and that's the amazing thing. 11-6 on a team that's 40-48. 8 games under 500, that hasn't caught the ball very well, hasn't scored a whole lot of runs. As a matter of fact, if you take these 2 pitching staffs, and I believe I'm correct when I say this, there's only one guy that's won 20 games, and that's Dwight Gooden last season.
24-4.
So as you said, there is a changing of the guard.
Very much so, and very much typified by the pitchers, by the young players, accentuated too by Joyner's selection as the first rookie. 2-1 the count on Ripken.
One of the reasons for Valenzuela's success also, he'll throw any pitch on any count. He's got several different kinds of screwballs, curveball and a fastball away.
Scroogie there, and the count 2-2.
And he'll also, as you saw with Mattingly, throw the screwball to the left-handed hitter, and that's what also makes him stand head and shoulders above most left-handers that throw screwballs. Most of them won't throw it to a left-hander.
Mike Cuellar, for years, pitched with him with the Orioles, would not throw it. It just was not effective. It comes into the left-hander, but when you have it control that Fernando has, you can throw it almost any time, anywhere to any hitter, and he does it.
3-2 the count. One of the National League coaches is Davey Johnson, whose New York Mets are in very comfortable shape in the National League East, leading by 13 at the break. In there, strike 3. Changed speeds, turned it over and up. And so Fernando, and you saw the graphic, he struck out in succession Winfield, Reggie Jackson, and Brett in 84 has got Mattingly and Ripken here.
Well, you can see, as you said, Tim said, the quality of the screwball. That's almost right in the middle of the plate, yet he's totally fooled. Don't know whether to look for the fastball or the curveball or the screwball.
And you also saw 2 types of screwballs, the screwball on the outside corner on the 2-1 pitch, and then he struck him out with the screwball inside.
Now Jesse Barfield of the Toronto Blue Jays bats for Winfield and takes a strike. Blue Jays have struggled, so Barfield hasn't gotten some of the acclaim that he deserves. 21 homers and 65 RBIs to go with his 296 mark in what has to be considered the best overall outfield in baseball, as you've got Barfield, Lloyd Mosby, who's also here. And you could certainly make a case for the left fielder, George Bell, having been named to the team, but there's just so much room. 1-2.
Here's one area that I thought Jesse Barfield would excel a little bit more is in base stealing. Only 3 this year. Of course, Mosby makes up for it. An excellent base stealer and center fielder up in Toronto. But you don't take extra bases. These guys can throw, they can get to the ball, and hit with power.
And he has struck out the side. Fernando sets him down at the end of 3.5. Still 2-0 America.
Yeah, I love pitching over. Pitching ballpark. Yeah.
The National League starter Dwight Gooden with us, and Dwight, the curveball up to Lou Whitaker, and that's all it took.
That's all it took, and that's been my problem all year. Just that one mistake pitch and been taking him out of the game. And from the second half, I hope I can learn from that.
What about pitching here in the Astrodome? Do you like it?
Yeah, I love pitching here. It's a pitcher's ballpark, and they got a nice high mound, and that helps the curveball.
The New York Mets going into the break, 13 ahead. What do you do to keep up the good things that are going to with you now?
Well, things have been going great. I hope the 3-day layoff ain't hurt nothing, but we just got to stay good and keep everybody healthy and take it a game at a time and keep playing the way we played the first half.
Roger Clemens was here just a moment ago, and you told me that you weren't too thrilled going against him.
No, if it was my turn to hit, I didn't want to face him at all.
Okay, pitcher's thoughts, and right now let's go back up to Al Michaels.
All right, thank you, Don, as Tony Gwynn leads off, and Teddy Higuera is on the pitch. Higuera from the Milwaukee Brewers, and it means right now you have 2 Mexican-born left-handers pitching in the All-Star game. Valenzuela and Higuera with a mark of 10-7. Gwynn fouling it away. 1-1.
Ernie Banks used to say, good day for 2. And, of course, tonight, a good night for 2. There are 2 Smiths in the game, 2 Hernandez, 2 Fernandez, and also 2 Valenzuelas. Fernando and Teddy Valenzuela Higuera. That was his idol growing up in Mexico, Fernando. Picked the right guy, didn't he?
Teddy might be Fernando's idol one of these days. Higuera has pitched some gems already in his brief career.
Well, that he has. He had 5 pitches last year, and Herm Surratt, pitching coach up in Milwaukee, got him down to 3. A little changeup he turns over. He throws a little bit harder than Fernando, and he has a kind of a slider curveball, which they call a slurve, which you saw right there.
3-2. Meanwhile, Mattingly stays in the game at first base, and Barfield stays in the game in right field. Mattingly hitting 5th, and Barfield hitting 7th. 3-2 the count. Nobody out. Bottom of the 4th, and a breaking pitch is over. Strike 3. And so the National League has sent 10 men to the plate with nary a base runner.
Something you don't see very often, a called 3rd strike. We talked about Valenzuela throwing any pitch any time. Gwynn fouled off about 4 or 5 fastballs, and then all of a sudden 3-2. Curveball on the inside part of the plate froze him.
Ryne Sandberg struck out in the first inning. Clemens, with 3 perfect innings, had 2 strikeouts. He got Sandberg in the first, and he got Strawberry in the second. The scoring, Winfield a 2-out right field double in the second, and then Whitaker a home run after Gooden had gotten ahead 0-2. 1-1 the count.
This game really all the characteristics of the game played here in 1968.
It wound up 1-0, the only 1-0 game in history, All-Star history, as Sandberg hits a fly ball to shallow left, and Ricky Henderson takes charge. Henderson used to playing center, but knows what it's like to play left, because that's where he played as an A with Murphy in center for so many years.
Won the Gold Glove back in 1981, and he plays center field up in New York now for the Yankees, but I think his best position is left field. I've never seen anybody play it as well.
Keith Hernandez at the plate. Well, it's figured, as Tim said, to be a low-scoring game. It's a prototypical Astrodome game in a way, even though we've had the home run by Whitaker. Certainly from the American League pitching standpoint, a typical Astrodome encounter. And this will make 4 perfect innings as Puckett takes care of Hernandez. At the end of 4 quick ones, the Americans lead 2-0.
The American League starter, Roger Clemens. And Roger, of course, 15-2, everything going right for you right here at home, Katy, Texas. It's another page in the history of Roger Clemens this year.
Well, it has been. It's been like a fantasy camp this year, and the Red Sox are playing well, and I'm pitching pretty good so far this season. Right now, I'm just looking down the road, getting ready for a second half, but, this was a big day for me, and a lot of family was here to see it, so I'm very happy.
And, of course, the Red Sox, as you mentioned, on top, you've got to feel as though that you can be there to stay. You are for real this year.
Well, I think we are. We got a lot of young guys, and we got a few pitchers that need to come off the disabled list to help us out in the second half, but hopefully we'll get rolling and just keep on rolling.
Roger, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go back upstairs to Al Michaels.
All right, Don. Whitaker comes up, and it's Lou who's the difference in this one right now. 2 out, Winfield at second inning. To deep right field and out of here. Into the seats for Whitaker, who has 12 during the regular season. And we mentioned 3 homers in his last 5 games last week. And the difference in tonight's encounter with the Americans on top 2-0 in the 5th. Whitaker and then Teddy Higuera to come up next, the pitcher, followed by Kirby Puckett. Fernando Valenzuela, who struck the side out in the 4th inning, deals 1-1, and it's 1-2. And Fernando's wife, Linda, amongst those here at the Dome tonight. Fernando and Steve Sachs representing the Dodgers in the All-Star game. In there, strike 3, and so Valenzuela, who struck out the side in '84, and it's worth noting again, he got Winfield, Jackson, and Brett, has now taken care of Mattingly, Ripken, Barfield, and Whitaker.
tell you, shades of Carl Hubbell back in 1934. He struck out 5 in a row to lead off the game. Not too shabby a hitters that he got.
Now it figures Higuera would break the string, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
0-1.
I think he was hoping that Lou Whitaker got a hit so he could bunt.
Well, one countryman faces the other, and he would tie Carl Hubbell's mark here with another strike.
All you have is Babe Ruth, and then you had Lou Gehrig, and then Jimmy Fox, and then Al Simmons and Joe Cronin. Of course, at the time, you think they thought it was that great a thing?
Well, Higuera's made a little history thanks to Valenzuela. So Fernando has struck out the 5 he's faced, and now Kirby Puckett comes up. Remember when he first came up in 80, he looked so overweight, and his mannerisms were so unusual, and everybody said he's a flash in the pan.
And Valenzuela wouldn't have had a chance to start were it not for an injury to Jerry Royce opening day.
Grounded to Smith, and it breaks a string of strikeouts for 2 perfect innings for Fernando. American League 2, National League nothing. The All-Star Game in Houston. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver, Don Drysdale. 4.5 innings gone. The American League leading 2-0, and Gary Carter to lead things off against Milwaukee's Teddy Higuera in the bottom of the 5th. Carter flied out his first trip and takes outside. 1-0. There's Fernando, who's faced 6, retired all, and struck out 5. Looking for a bat, hopeful he'll get up. He's a good hitter, but chances are slim they'll get to his spot.
He hit 3 home runs one year. We talked about the dimensions of this park. Used to be the best pitching park in the National League. Now it's about the 3rd best. They brought the fences in just about really 10 to 12 to 6 feet around, depending which part of the park you go to. But also, I think another thing as a former pitcher is that, again, you look at Fernando. Obviously, the pressure doesn't bother him, nor does the American League hitters. Look at
Carter grounds it to 3rd, where Boggs picks it up, and that's 13 up and 13 down for the National League. And it's shades of 1980 when the game was played in L.A. The first 14 National Leaguers went out in order, and then Ken Griffey hit a 2-run homer, or hit a homer, off Tommy John, a bases empty homer, and the National League went on to win the game 4-2.
You just saw one of the differences in a third baseman playing on natural surface and artificial surface. You saw Boggs first step to his right, and then he adjusted back to his left. Ball gets on you in a hurry on the artificial surface, of course.
1-0 the count on Strawberry, who rips it to right field, and Barfield has to play it on a hop. And so the National League finally gets a base runner.
You throw Darryl Strawberry a breaking ball, you speed up his bat a little bit. See the long arms, the extension, and then you see the top spin. Barfield's first step is really to his right, and then in. Ball with a lot of top spin falls right below him. We said Jesse Barfield, excuse me, an awfully good outfielder. That play can be made, he's usually going to make it.
Mike Schmidt flying to center in the second inning. American League plays him straight away. And he lays off a high fastball, 1-0 the count.
Schmidt, of course, off a hot game on Sunday. He had 2 home runs in this ballpark for the Phillies.
Playing at first base and saved the game with a diving stab to thwart a Houston rally. Pretty good idea of Teddy Aguirre, who had this not a lightweight. In 137 innings, he struck out 115 batters. Fastball over 90 miles per hour.
Jim, we were talking about it between innings. He throws like Valenzuela. Maybe a little harder. He is very, very impressive. First time I've ever seen him pitch.
And if you talk to the American League hitters, they say he paints. In other words, he's on the corners. Excellent control to go with really overpowering stuff. And really a thought that I was trying to get to earlier was that to take a look at the mound, part of a characteristic of a good pitching ballpark is the pitching mound. Very high mound here, good fall. You can get away with a lot more high fastballs on that kind of mound, and we've seen those all night.
3-1 now on Schmidt.
A very important thing, though, right here, Tim, is that, as we said earlier, you have a tendency to overthrow, and you're looking at a guy named Mike Schmidt who has 477 lifetime home runs.
He's got Dale Murphy on deck. That's the one thing about the All-Star game. You got somebody on deck just as potent as the guy with the stick in his hand.
And Schmidt is on. So the National League with its first semblance of a rally as Strawberry goes to second. Schmidt is at first with 1 down. And here is Murphy having an off year for him. 273 average and 36 RBIs at the break.
Coming off a shoulder injury to his right shoulder, and the story we heard, he was only going to play 3 innings, and I guess this is what you talked about, the spirit of the National League players. Once the game starts, you don't want to come out.
And also one of the reasons that he played in 740 consecutive games. He, by the way, told me on the plane down here to Houston from New York that Ted Simmons had a lot to do with his deciding not to play last Wednesday in Philadelphia. Set him down in the locker and he said, "You're the one who has to make this decision. How long do you want to keep it up?" Ted Simmons, of course, the veteran catcher who came to the Atlanta Braves from the Milwaukee Brewers this spring.
High fly ball to center. And an easy play for Kirby Puckett. Strawberry's tagging but not going anywhere. And there are 2 down. So Darryl is still at second, and Mike Schmidt is at first. And with 2 away, Ozzie Smith is due up. But Whiting will look for the 3-run homer, and he'll send U.B. Brooks of the Montreal Expos to the plate. And then Brooks will stay in the game at shortstop.
An interesting thing about the 3-run home run, Al, you have to go all the way back to 1964, Johnny Callison. The last time the National League ever hit a 3-run home run. So they have won without the Earl Weaver 3-run home run, so to speak. As we said, 21 out of the last 23 ball games, and here's a guy very capable of hitting a home run, even though he's coming off a thumb injury and has not hit a home run in a long time.
Well, Eubie Brooks went to Montreal in the Gary Carter deal, and neither team, I would imagine, would turn that one down. Carter's been a lot to the Mets, and they have no gripes when they look at the standings. And the Expos, among others, picking up Eubie Brooks, who has developed into one of the premier shortstops in baseball.
Also in that trade, Floyd Yeomans, a fine young right-handed pitcher, Herm Winningham, and Mike Fitzgerald, and all are on the 24-man roster.
And Brooks, all of a sudden, has developed into an adequate shortstop and a fine hitter and a guy with a lot of punch.
Especially with 2 outs. He is one of the most notorious 2-out RBI men in the National League.
And that's the situation right here with 2 out and 2 on, the American League leading 2-0.
The big advantage, though, from pitching a lot of all-star games is that if you can throw strikes, and Aguirre has done that most of the time with only the 1 walk to Schmidt, Eubie Brooks doesn't know how you throw. Chances are he has not seen him. I always felt the pitcher had an advantage. And I pitched against Aaron and Mays and Stargell and McCovey. And when I ran into problems is when I couldn't get the ball over the plate, or when I got behind. And I go back to 1977 where I served up 3 long ones in Yankee Stadium.
1-2 to Brooks is a fastball high, 2-2. Valenzuela would be due up next, but wouldn't hit. And Glenn Davis of the Astros is out on deck if Brooks keeps the inning going. There's Glenn. Brooks hits it off the hands down to second, and Whitaker throws to Mattingly to retire the side. So the Nationals' first rally is squelched. It's still 2-0 going to the 6th.
Yeah,
The initial,
yeah,
oh, there,
he's a lot better.
It's a little concerned.
A little reminiscing before we go to the 6th inning. Tim McCarver, you played in the All-Star games in '66 and '67. How'd you do?
Well, I did all right. I was on 2 winners, and both of those games were extra inning games, both won by the National League. As a matter of fact, in '67, the longest game, 15 innings ever in All-Star history.
How did you do personally?
Oh, I went 3 for 3. I've got it right. Oh, shucks. You really had to pull that out of me, didn't you?
And Palmer, your greatest thrill was what? Giving up those 3 home runs
No,
in
it
New
was
York?
actually warming up to go in the game in 1971, being on a winning team and watching as I was warming up in the bullpen in Detroit, Reggie Jackson's home run off the transformer. Total silence in the ballpark as everybody else watched it, too. What a smash that was.
Looked like a golf ball. As Ricky Henderson starts things in the 6th inning. Henderson has grounded out and struck out. He'll be followed by Boggs and Parrish, and a couple of changes for the National League as it's fouled straight back. For the National League, the new third baseman is Chris Brown of the San Francisco Giants, and the new right fielder, Dave Parker, of the Cincinnati Reds. Rucker bats fifth and Brown bats sixth as Henderson takes a strike.
You just wouldn't bite for that overly humble shot, would you?
Were they 3 solid hits?
Does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't
Sure it
matter.
does.
They are now, I'll tell you that.
2-2. The other change for the National League is that Brooks stays in the game. Huey now playing shortstop with Ozzie Smith out. Little looper, back of third. Brown is calling, but he's waved away by Brooks, and there's one away. So Henderson is now 0 for 3, and Wade Boggs will be coming to the plate. A reminder, ABC's Wide World of Sports. There are the times at the bottom of the screen Saturday featuring the World Ice Spectacular, including Torvald and Dean making an appearance, and the Harlem Globetrotters. And the week after, Mike Tyson back in action. The heavyweight takes on Marvis Frazier, and Barry McGuigan in the rematch with Steve Cruz. Wade Boggs looks at a strike. Boggs has flied to left and reached on an error. Hit softly in the center for a base hit. So Boggs is on, and it will bring up Parrish. I think I mentioned rematch of McGuigan and Cruz, which is news to those guys. What we'll have for you is the tape of their recent fight.
Well, so predictable here. Boggs with a lifetime batting average over 325. He's 0 for 2. You know he's going to get a hit. Just fights it off. Good pitch by Valenzuela, but Boggs won the war. Just fisted it into center field.
What was that amazing stat last year with the count 0-2? After that, Boggs hit 390 on the year.
And lifetime, he's over 400 against right-handed pitching at home at Fenway Park. Boggs at first with one away, and Parrish at the plate. Little half swing, shallow fly ball, and it hangs for Murphy for the out. 2 down, and we'll see Mattingly. One other thing worth mentioning about Boggs, for those of you who don't really follow the game, he's having a great year, and he's doing it under extreme duress. Wade is the fellow whose mother was tragically killed in an auto accident about a month ago. So he was gone for a week, and he's been able to come back, and we talked to him in Boston last week, and he says, hey, this is the best thing. Play baseball every day. So he's a man carrying quite a burden magnificently. Mattingly now, who pinch hit for Joyner and struck out in the 4th inning. Valenzuela in his final inning of work, and if he does not allow a run, that'll make 7 2/3 innings in his All-Star career without allowing a run. One and one.
The basic problem is I pitched my first 9 innings, didn't give up any runs, and then that's when the problems started. I got older, and the lineups got better.
1 and 2.
Don Mattingly, who I think in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago was voted the #1 player by his peers, a poll of I think about 419 players, said what he wants to do is you take another look at a screwball way out in front again, pitch he struck out on last time. Said he wants to improve every time, every year he plays the game of baseball.
To Sandberg, and the inning is over. And at the end of 5 1/2 of the Astrodome, on Whitaker's homer, it's 2-0 American League.